data is still to be extracted. Even about 10 years ago, there were cases when some companies were sued. Say the girl's father first began to swear, then he gave up on this story. When the advertisement came for, well, pregnant women, yes, let's say for a girl, her father was outraged. And then it turned out that the company predicted by her actions, by her purchases, that this advertisement was suitable for her. And the father had, in fact, nothing to swear about. Now, there have even been situations where this targeted advertising was somehow sent in a more veiled format so that people would not have the feeling that they were being watched. And from this, it is already possible to create some new products that are not on the marketplace, which will be an even greater demand because all the trends indicate that this module is now available, or this is something they really want, or this is very useful. For example, this is very useful for this segment, for these mothers, for example, for someone, because a whole rationale can be built if this system is configured correctly. Accordingly, these are several different neural networks, several different simply, well, let's say integrated with some kind of CRM system, maybe just some kind of its own, well, like software where you pressed a button, it downloaded data from competitors, showed me what to do next.
I liked this story where there is a dashboard and let's say it's not every day, but you can collect these pointers I need every 2 or 3 days and update them.
Great. Yes. Accordingly, you can constantly download this data, analyze it, and do quite a few things that you would never have done manually before. And the computer wouldn't have helped much either because there wasn't enough power. Now everything is enough.
So your team will help me identify and set up all this?
Yes, in this profile, we help to do such things. As a rule, we work with large companies, big checks, and so on. But our task is not to make money, but to help promote businesses. So we consider the cost close to the cost. Deeply speaking, we look at what is there, what developers, where and how it all goes is being done.
I turned on. For example, my calls are recorded. I have ATL, ATS, like many others. I think, yes, there is a manager there who makes cold calls. I can somehow convince an entry, not even in the Euroset, yes, and understand which words are, well, so good, encouraging success. Meetings, yes, respectively, transactions, and what words were the opposite, or expressions, yes, were the factor that stopped communication with the client. These are your strengths, damn it, you say this phrase, the client melts. Yes, but if this one, then most likely you will lose it. Put it on the table and it will become stronger accordingly. So, do I understand?
Yes.
What is needed for that?
Look, access to ATS with the voice ones themselves, files and so on, so that it can be parallelized. Next, let's say we make a system that downloads, performs analysis, turns it into some kind of structured text. There, perhaps even now, it is already possible to identify emotions. Well, it's kind of more complicated than that. And then it analyzes, runs, reveals what was key, what was important in this dialogue, what led to a bad or good result. Yes. Based on all this, the manager says accordingly what you did right, wrong, which side of the pig, and so on. If earlier, say 5 years ago, even one might say some kind of science fiction from a movie, a book. Now, this is just practice. You can take it and apply it. Yes, and it's quite cheap. All algorithms, neurons, and so on are generally pennies. Something needs to be analyzed.
How much is a kopeck?
Well, more development.
Well, for example, this algorithm, this is the algorithm that I described, which the prince can start working tomorrow.
Well, I'll say now, let's see and count, but I can say for sure that it's very cheap compared to what they tried to do there 10 years ago for some crazy money. Now in general you do more there, labor costs are not so much, and so these are some neurons that are not on the servers. And so on in certain areas. This does not mean that they replace people. This means that they complement, help to quickly and more accurately determine and diagnose, and help individual approaches to select treatment. Development of trading strategy algorithms. Here, I think I will touch on in more detail because this is such a hype area and we won't go deep. But there is really value there too. Positive service, in short, predict this and understand what the client's need is and accordingly carry out service. Hypersecurity and threat prevention. Well, here I think is also quite clear. While development prospects are great due to new technologies, and according to the current analysis of the perception of the organization and leaders, how businessmen in general, the top managers of some large companies perceive artificial intelligence, the last one literally this year. "71% of owners believe that artificial intelligence and machine learning make it possible to increase competitiveness in the first place." Next in our top list is artificial intelligence for launching new business directions using data. There is a very active approach here where we collect a lot of data according to analytics trends, what is happening in the market, according to data within the company in all databases, from 1C to each tablet, everything is collected, all sections. And through data analysis, statistics, and complex deep learning of neural networks, insights appear about things that would be very difficult for a person to extract. People with very great expertise and extensive experience in the industry cannot keep track of all the changes that occur within the organization, in the external contour of the organization, around competitors, customers, and so on. Here, due to the fact that the hardware is faster, you can calculate both in statistics format and in the format of some neural networks, a lot of things at the same time, and determine which product will be in demand, what to change in products, what to change in strategies, approaches, etc. Further, that is, it is possible to dynamically integrate a strategy and make decisions that would be difficult to make in such a dynamic format, or even none of the Ukrainian team, say, would notice any changes in the market. The company could go bankrupt, miss some entry of a new player into the market, and so on. Well, below is the general opinion of the average owners that this is an important part of the business that needs to be developed now. And it's hard to argue here because when we digitize our processes, they are easier to manage. If we have a larger scale, it allows us to get more results. With 2 or 3 people, say some small group, it is easy for a leader, say, to understand what and how to do in a team. When we are talking about thousands of people, tens of thousands, factories, production chains in our country, respectively, there are many nuances that are difficult for humans to calculate. This is, roughly speaking, the same as development. Or you try to dig with your hands, you got a shovel, you got an excavator. Also here you only have your brain, then you have some kind of calculator, then Excel, and then your neurons allow you to count in real time and help you make decisions quickly. The main advantages that are highlighted now, here we remain on the data of large constant companies, but this is only part of the fact that the pop-up surface actually has many more applications, and we will talk about this later. Here we see simplification of work and increased efficiency. In some industries, we get a plus 56% increase in efficiency if connected correctly right now. And there is no decrease in the dynamics now. That is, for now, it is increasing. Well, accordingly, it depends on the type of work. It's clear that some tasks are difficult to automate while others are easy. But the current historical moment, one might say, is a turning point in that literally in the last couple of years, technologies have appeared that make it possible to solve some complex expert problems at a level that is really almost like a person, a little higher than a person. And some certain narrow areas are better, definitely a person. While it allows artificiality to move on to new projects, it is clear 10 years ago, a computer could quickly calculate complex problems and help understand the solution in Excel, but it was flawed decision-making. This is not an opportunity to trust a computer to say, do this and that, and then, well, discuss this moment in the world of directors. How funny it would be to bear something that the computer said, well, except for some clearly justified numbers, boiling, and so on. Now, due to the fact that hardware is getting cheaper, hardware is faster, and new algorithms are appearing, which scientists around the world are trying to invent new algorithms in the US, race against China, and so on. Accordingly, it is possible to solve problems that could only be solved by humans at the level of artificial intelligence. To talk specifically, let's say, some common sense questions when you try to ask some chatbot, as it was about 7 years ago. Let's say you ask it, it answers you with some kind of chip who, if dig deeper. Now, in fact, many common sense problems where you need to understand what the cause is, what the effect is, and based on the data, say what will be better. They are much better solved using artificial intelligence. Many specific products are available now. Everyone has heard about ChatGPT and more. This is just a part of the global revolution happening now. If we consider the dynamics of development, in 2020, a project management tool based on artificial intelligence becomes available. In 2023, project management tools based on artificial intelligence will become very widespread. We see this in different products. Of course, most of them are Western, but this can be seen in the latest success. Both Yandex and Sberbank, it's clear that in other countries like China, they have their own independent developments. Actually, the dynamics here are due to the fact that, again, hardware is faster and cheaper, new algorithms and so on. People exchange information quickly via the internet, so scientific research in this area is also rapid. Well, as we can predict from the dynamics in 2004, the tools for artificial intelligence project management are already, one might say, coming to a design standard. Roughly speaking, somewhere in the format of simple tips and somewhere in this format of real serious help for managers who manage projects. By 2025, AI-based project management tools optimize processes. It's evident that automation of processes is becoming more common, which was once considered fantastic 10 years ago. Used for sales, empowering sales with artificial intelligence. The most striking such points are capturing universal customers and customer segmentation. Smart chat codes, lead captures, etc. are injected into your websites for capture. They come in different shapes. Integration with advertising companies where you choose who should be your client and easily attract a new lead to your business quite cheaply. Customer segmentation is, let's say for you, if you have a large amount of data that you collect, for example, in CRM on customers, somewhere in the e-commerce system, you have sales, let's say, you can use the data that already you have a lot of indirect additional data to extract. Well, 10 years ago, there were cases when some companies sued. Well, let's say the girl's father first started swearing, then he gave up on this story. When the advertisement came for pregnant women, or say for a girl, her father was indignant. And then it turned out that the company predicted by her actions, by her purchases, that this advertisement was suitable for her. And from here, there was in fact nothing to swear about. Now, there have even been situations where this is targeted advertising. It was sent in a more veiled format to avoid giving people the feeling of being watched. Well, there's no escape here. Automatically segmented according to different markings. All people are segmented through different tools. Somewhere you accidentally left the checkbox pressed, saying, yes, I want to send data there, and so on. One system talks to another, databases are gathered, and no matter how much you surrender, you are still documented somewhere. Customer analysis using existing intelligence, obtaining information about customer behavior and preferences. This is a related area. We can see a complete client profile from some of the data. Guess what type of client, type of behavior, and accordingly act more targetedly when working with him. Improving service convenience, product consumption continuity, and optimizing sales processes to obtain client information and enhance sales strategy. Let's talk about specific cases we experienced in practice, like using AI to improve customer service. And following the example of the American corporation City Investment Group, their case is big data processing in EFIX and commodities. Actually, this is a division related to investments, including in assets in the commodities format, introducing dozers and so on. And EFIX is, in fact, what concerns their clients' portfolios with currency pairs. And on the right, we see a presentation. We have active connected services for the company. They too, most of the Western part they have is the USA, Canada, in Poland. They have, in general, all over the world. What does this Aptiv officially represent? Aptiv is a large company, but in Russia, they are not so well known. Connected services, we are implementing an operational analytics system. Accordingly, what does this mean? We collect a bunch of data from all the cars that they have from their original customers, some kind of crypto call. You can easily find who should be your client and attract a new lead to your business quite cheaply. Customer segmentation is, let's say, if you have a large amount of data that you collect somewhere in CRM on customers, somewhere in the e-commerce system, you have sales, let's say, you can use the data that already you have a lot of indirect additional data to extract. Well, 10 years ago, there were cases when some companies sued. Well, let's say the girl's father first started swearing. Then he gave up on this story when an advertisement came out for pregnant women, say for a girl. Her father was indignant, and then it turned out that the company predicted by her actions, by her purchases, that this advertisement was suitable for her. It happens that a father actually has nothing to swear about. Now, there have even been situations where this targeted advertising was somehow sent in a more veiled format so that people would not have the feeling that they were being watched. Well, there's no escape here, automatically segmented according to different segment markings. All people are distributed through different tools. Somewhere you accidentally left a checkbox pressed saying, yes, I want to send data there, and so on. One system communicates with another system. These databases are collected, and you haven't given up on everything. You're registered somewhere anyway. Customer analysis using substantive intelligence, obtaining information about customer behavior is a related field. We can see a complete client profile from some of the data, guess what kind of client and type of behavior, and accordingly take more targeted action when working with him. Something more convenient service, offering suitable products, etc. Well, and accordingly, sales processes can be optimized, the price of customer information can be obtained, and your sales forecasting strategies can be optimized. Let's come to more specific cases that we had in practice, cases of using artificial intelligence to achieve customer service levels. And following the example of the American corporation, Citigroup, Citi Investment Group, their case is the processing of big data in EFX and commodities. These are divisions related to investments, including assets in the commodities format, up to grain and so on. And EFX is what their clients' currency pair portfolios are all about. And on the right, we see at the presentation, we have a case for the company Aptiv Connected Services. They are also mostly Western. They have the USA, Canada, and Poland. Well, in general, all over the world. Moreover, all these groups wrote not only these systems for themselves, but also subsequently measured the things that we did for them, for example, like White Label and other banks. Specifically in money, this is very clearly expressed due to the fact that very quickly you can read some data, make a decision on time, agree with everyone who makes the decision in the chain, break through options, for example, fix some other points. During periods when something happens, well, some peak political events and so on, the bank wins, while on the market there with its competitors, literally billions of dollars in one day. Citi and Deutsche Bank may incur billion-dollar fines for non-compliance and incorrect actions. And if they use, well, actually, this approach is more effective. Well, they earn the corresponding amounts from specific cases. They're $5 billion and so on. In a little more detail, if you dig deeper, we process big data. All client portfolios, all market dynamics are loaded. The server's number machine uses artificial intelligence to process data and generate market reports, analysis results. I won't sell the details. There are all sorts of very complex mathematical formulas. There it was all implemented together with scientists on the side of a network of groups. Scientists on the plane have degrees in quantum physics and calculate formulas. We introduced AI and machine learning into the network to automate data collection and analysis. Our company units, along with other contractors, use this system to manage investment portfolios during unusual market behavior. And as a result, thanks to the introduction of technology in the network, there has been significant reduction. And in addition, thanks to the automatic anomaly management system, the networks have been able to reduce many potential risks to nearby clients, including losses. It's not entirely clear here. If you have any questions about names, derivatives, options, etc., we will address, well, if someone has such a pressing question right now, you can ask it directly without expecting questions and answers. Yes, well, I have a question. Yes.
I have a question about that. Here we have knitted children's hats. Can you analyze the marketplace and find several photos of the top sale, for example?
Yes, look, if you dive straight into technology, how this is done, the database is parsed and collected through, well, directly from a database from some server or from these client pages. A large amount of diverse pictures, text, and other data is gathered and stored in a shared database. The analysis is done, and if these are only seismic top products, it is easy to deduce without a neural network. Complex tasks are solved using neural networks to produce the result. You can do this once, or you can connect automatic collection and constantly prompt you. You will have a dashboard that shows you a picture of what is in the project, what is most important. Accordingly, well, large players, of course, are already using this, but since it's cheaper to do it now, you don't have to invest $1 billion in some kind of super server. You can do it quite simply. This can be done by any company actually now. Well, there, of course. So do you still have any questions? So, well, then the next point, I especially wanted to, now the most important value for us is to give. We offer a free introduction to artificial intelligence in business for club members and their friends. Help you earn more and spend less, analyze processes, identify effective compensation zones, and explore new market opportunities. We need to develop a long-term plan and support the solution. Our mission as a whole is to develop this direction, to introduce technologies in order to ultimately, accordingly, I will be glad if you need to call me, personally advise, or suggest some things. Well, if there is a complex case, our guys from the team, from the company will help you sort it out piece by piece. And accordingly, for those who are in the club, we will do a complete analysis for free. So we now have a question and answer session as planned. Therefore, if you want to ask a question, you can immediately raise your virtual hand and so on. Thank you. So does anyone have any questions? Anatoly, maybe?
Any institute starts with competent data analysis to understand its direction. I think I need to analyze specific criteria which is prohibited by the company from using the logical data, for instance. Do you need to write that your company provides this service? I understand that I have the option to choose a manager based on the criteria, so psychologists can start doing what they are good at more effectively in this regard.
Yes, first of all, artificial intelligence needs something as an input. In order for him to give the correct answer, you need to give him information. Collecting more accurate information is the most effective approach. Not all information needs to be correct when smart algorithms calculate. Collect various information, analyze trends, and automatically identify the most important priority for a given purpose. Well, and accordingly, after this, managers can make decisions and the business can be more or less organized. So maybe someone else wants to ask a question. Rasul, Alexander, Ksenia.
Timofey, I understand that you were trained in Syria. In general, where should I start my first steps? How to contact you, for example, you?
You can come to us, if not without being tied to us. Let's say how this even happens. It is important to understand, consider cases, how it happens with other competitors and so on, and try to generate some of these ideas on what can be done in business. And it's primitive for this to already communicate with experts, say developers, machine learning. So to say that you just take any programmer and he will tell you is difficult because not everyone is deeply immersed in technology. Some are in their own narrow niche. It's best to involve experts who are already working in this market. But in general, it all starts with understanding and analyzing what the most effective decisions will be for the company. Here, interestingly enough, you can use artificial intelligence at the very first stage. Roughly speaking, if you give him sufficiently detailed information about the company and run him through the right model, not just any random chatbot, but run him through the right model and ask accordingly the question of what the most effective solutions will be, he will already generate a lot of ideas which will really be useful. Well, if it's a random chatbot, it will say if the correct model is used and the correct algorithm is used, then it will produce such and such things point by point. They will be prioritized and they will be with justification, not just some randomly generated text. Well, experts are better, of course, yes, but experts in all fields are now starting to be used in their work. So an expert plus artificial intelligence will help decide how best to implement artificial intelligence.
For instance, if you were fully present, what would be the initial action?
Here you need to look at the dynamics of sales, which markets, where and how. Unscrew it all as some kind of data format, structured, unstructured, just maybe text. And look at different, let's say, strategies. What can be changed to reduce costs? This could be entering new markets, maybe some new products, some other technologies, format, what to copy correctly from competitors and so on. And when it comes to releasing the right products, for example, again, analyzing trends in the marketplace can also help. This is, for example, collecting data on what different products are on the market, what statistics they have, artificial intelligence, neural networks, they produce statistics, connections between some say, here are pictures, here are some tag clouds, just a bunch of text. Each product can be described using multiple tags, such as a pink frilly hat, and more. Moments can be extracted from the text or pictures if the neuron is connected correctly. The smartphone analyzes the picture, identifies the shapes, and determines the color, features, and style. This is all also uploaded as some kind of internal text to the database. And from this, it is already possible to create some new products that do not have marketplace, which will be in even greater demand because all the trends indicate that this module is now being developed, or this is what they really want, or this is very useful. For example, this is very useful for this segment, for these mothers, for example, for someone, because a whole rationale can be built if this system is configured. There are several different neural networks.
I enjoyed this story where it's not common to find buyers I need every 2-3 days and update them. Great.
Yes. Accordingly, you can constantly download this data, analyze it, and do things that I would not have done manually before, and computers would not have helped much either because there was not enough power. Now everything is enough.
So your team will help me identify and set up all this?
For that. Yes, in this profile, we help to do such things. As a rule, we work with large companies, big checks and so on, but our task is not to make money, but to help promote the business. So we take the cost close to ourselves, look at what developers are there, where and how it's all done.
For example, my calls are recorded. I have an address, as many people think. There is a manager there who made cold calls. I can somehow publish a recording in the media and understand which words are so good, exercising the success of speech. And what words were, on the contrary, or expressions were the factor that stopped altogether unpleasant. These are your strengths. You can handle this one. You tell the client this one. If this one, then you will probably lose it. That's where he stopped, and that's how he'll become stronger.
Yes. Access WTS with voice files for analysis. Create a system that downloads and analyzes structured text, possibly identifying emotions. It's more complicated now than it was 5 years ago. It analyzes, runs, and reveals the key points in this dialogue that led to a bad or good result. Based on all this, the manager also says, accordingly, what you did right or wrong, what are the witnesses, and so on. 5 years ago, it might have seemed like science fiction from a movie or a book. This is practice. You can apply it. Yes. And this, do you want to find the next video to start now? And its algorithms, neurons, and so on are usually inexpensive. We need to streamline.
How much is a kopeck?
Well, more development, yes.
Well, for example, what algorithm? This algorithm that I wrote, which, for example, could start working tomorrow.
Well, actually, I won't tell you now. Let's see and count. But I can say for sure that it is very cheap compared to what they tried to do 10 years ago for some crazy money. Now you do it all. There's not much labor. These neurons will be screwed on Instagram. They're hardware, not too expensive, no longer needed in the current market. We can take it specifically and read it in your waterway. Well, let's call them there, write down some details and read it directly. So any other questions or wishes, perhaps? Everyone is excited about the prospect of artificial intelligence. Everything will change, and so will the competitors. Whoever does not have time will be late. And now, unfortunately, it is moving quite dynamically. Well, I think we can sum it up. Indeed, the changes are big. Yes, they write. Yes, Alex Frolov has a question. So, question, I'm listening. So I don't see it in the list of cameras. Yeah, you can use it to sell a card village, right? Yes, you can. I can now give you 5 options, probably even say where and how. To collect leads, right? Yes, of course you can. Focus on the specific sources and methods for collecting leads, such as websites, advertising, and more. This applies to all planes. You need to consider a specific example and write it down, so to speak. How will this be applied? Directly, well, it depends only on the specifics, what you are selling, in what area, and so on. You can analyze what the demand is. You can design correctly, button up the rows. In reality, there are many options to use. You need to find the most effective one and implement it directly in the company. So if only a marketing plan is planned, well, at the planning stage too, all the neurons and so on, they can be actively used. We gather comprehensive market trend data, company information, and an overall snapshot of the situation. Using the algorithm we run, we can obtain the result for a promotional marketing plan, which a person needs to finalize, including calculations for effectiveness. Moreover, again, the hardware is cheap, fast. You can calculate 1 million different strategies and give it to a person. This strategy will work best. Therefore, all the rationale, all the very actions will be decisions. He will already generate a lot of ideas that will really be useful. Well, if a random chatbot says some nonsense, if the model is used correctly, some correct algorithm, then it will give out points like this. Some things will be prioritized and they will be with justification, not just some random generated text. Well, it's better, of course, experts. Experts in all fields are now starting to get involved in their work. So expert plus artificial intelligence will help decide how best to implement artificial intelligence.
For example, the factory even owes it to me in Africa. If you were in my place, what would be the first or second thing you would do?
Here you need to look at the dynamics of sales, which markets, where and how. It can all be uploaded as some kind of data format, structured or unstructured, simply as text. and look at different, let's say, strategies, what can be changed to increase income and reduce costs. This could be entering new markets, maybe some new products, some other technologies, format, copying something correctly from competitors, and so on. And if, for example, in order to release products correctly, then again, here's an analysis of trends on marketplaces. It can also help. This is, for example, collecting data on what different products there are on the market in marketplaces, what statistics they have, artificial intelligence, neural networks. They run this, produce statistics, connections between some, say, like the clouds here in the picture, some tags, just a bunch of text. The same, maybe each product can be written using a bunch of the same tags. For example, the hat is pink, it has such and such a frill, and so on. All these moments, they can be extracted from the text itself. They can be extracted from pictures if the neuron is connected correctly. That is, he analyzes the picture, sees, well, there are such and such shapes, and begins, well, it's pink, it has some features, some kind of style, and so on. This is all also uploaded as some kind of internal text to the database. And from this, it is already possible to create some new products that are not on the marketplace, which will be in even greater demand because all the trends indicate that this module is now available, or this is something they really want, or this is very useful. For example, this is very useful for this segment, for these mothers, for example, for someone, because a whole rationale can be built if this system is configured correctly. Accordingly, these are several different neural networks, several different simply, well, let's say integrated with some kind of CRM system, maybe just some kind of software of its own where you pressed a button, it downloaded data from competitors, showed that, do next.
I like this story where there is a dashboard and let's say it's not every day, but you can collect these indicators that I need every 2 or 3 days.
Yes. Accordingly, you can constantly upload and analyze the data and do enough things that you wouldn't have done before without manual mode, and the computer wouldn't have helped much either because there wasn't enough power. Now everything is enough to help me identify and configure all this or something else. In this profile, we help to do such things. As a rule, we work with large companies, big checks, and so on. But our task is not to make money, but to help promote businesses. So we consider the cost close to the cost. Deeply speaking, we look at what is there, what developers where, and how it all goes is being done.
I turned on. For example, my calls are recorded. I have ATL, ATS, like many others, I think, yes. There are managers there who make cold calls. I can somehow convince the record, of course, in India, in the Euroset, yes, and understand what words there are. Well, so good, encouraging the success of the meeting there, and accordingly, the deal. And what words, on the contrary, or expressions, yes, were the factor that stopped communication with the client. These are your strengths, you say this phrase, and the client melts. And if this one, then most likely you will lose it. Place it on the table and it will become stronger accordingly. So do I understand?
Sure. Look, access to the ATS with the voice files themselves and so on, so that this can be parallelized. Next, let's say we make a system that downloads, does analysis, turns it into some kind of structured text where perhaps even now it's even possible to identify emotions. Well, it's kind of more complicated than back. And then it analyzes, runs, reveals what was key, what was important in this dialogue, what led to a bad or good result. Yes. Based on all this, the manager then says respectively what you did right, wrong, which side of the pig, and so on. If earlier, say 5 years ago, even one might say some kind of science fiction from a movie, a book, Now, this is just practice. You can take it and apply it. Yes, and it's quite cheap. All algorithms, neurons, and so on are generally pennies. Well, more development.
The one I wrote that could start working tomorrow.
Well, I won't tell you the number now. Let's see and count. I can say for sure that it is very cheap compared to what they tried to do 10 years ago for some crazy money now. In general, you take it and do it. There is not much labor involved. And these are some neurons that the servers are spinning. Their hardware is not that expensive. It is necessary to get by. It's just that in reality, there are a lot of options to use. You need to find the most effective one and directly implement it in the company. If only a marketing plan is planned. At the planning stage, all neurons can also be actively used. We download data on market trends, download data on the entire situation, and additional information about the company. Altogether, we load, say, the main image, and through the algorithm, when we run it, we can get the result down to the outline of a marketing plan that a person needs to finalize, right down to some calculations of where and how, what will be more effective. Moreover, again, the hardware is cheap, fast. You can calculate 1 million different strategies and give it to a person. This is the strategy that will work best for this reason, write down all the justifications. So it can be applied to all of this. You can directly analyze and calculate how this happens. Now, this is an absolutely valuable result. In any case, the exhaust is much, much greater than the cost of what to implement. So you can have examples of your cases and your website. I will now write our website in the chat. And there you can see examples of cases. I can tell you something else in more detail. There were examples like we highlighted for Aptiv, for example. Well, everything is written in sufficient detail on the website. There are examples of mobile development, cloud development, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and so on. So I think in general, we have covered the main points. Let's summarize and conclude. Thank you very much to everyone who showed interest. I know that our community is all about the strongest, baddest entrepreneurs. Obviously, it is our community that will be at the forefront of all these new trends and will introduce and capture all markets. If we compare with our competitors, of course, everything will be the best. So let's end on this good note. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Timothy, for what you are doing. It's clear that we don't quite understand what to do with this, but I think with your help, we'll figure it out here.
Let's help everyone. We'll figure it out. Thank you.
Thanks for the broadcast.
All the best.